Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a really critical concept for any IT director or C-suite executive. We're looking at identifying training requirements for a massive transition, moving from VMware Cloud Foundation to a physical, bare metal infrastructure. Now, let's just dive right into this, because we're talking about a fundamental shift here. Moving away from VCF to bare metal is incredibly complex. But here is the thing you really need to keep in mind. The ultimate success of this migration? It doesn't rely entirely on the shiny new hardware you buy. Actually, it relies on how well you prepare your people. Because if your team isn't trained for the new stack, even the most expensive hardware on the market is going to fail you. So, I want to challenge everyone listening right now with a question. Is your team actually ready, or just your hardware? It's a really dangerous yet surprisingly common assumption that just buying the right servers and switches guarantees a smooth migration. It absolutely doesn't. Procuring the best tech is, at best, only half the battle. If your sysadmins and network engineers are suddenly thrust into this bare metal environment they haven't been properly trained for, well, you aren't really upgrading your infrastructure at that point. You're just introducing massive operational risk into your business. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the migration readiness solution. Second, mapping the skills gap. Third, establishing a RACI plan. Fourth, bridging the training gaps. And finally, sustaining long-term excellence. Okay, let's jump straight into part one, the migration readiness illusion, and why procuring tech just doesn't equal readiness. You absolutely have to lock in your infrastructure decisions before procuring a single training course. Think about it. If you rush out and purchase training prematurely and then your underlying technology choices shift halfway through, you've entirely wasted your budget and worse, created this false sense of confidence in your team. Choosing to go with Proxmox versus Microsoft Hyper-V or setting up your networking with Cisco versus Aruba completely dictates the customer training path your people need. Every single vendor has their own distinct certification tracks and prerequisite skills. You've got to document the full target stack, your hypervisor, the physical networking vendor, the storage platform, before you spend a single dime on training. Moving right along to Section 2, mapping the skills gap. We need to visualize the chasm here. To effectively cross this divide, we have to forensically map your team's current state against your target state. On one hand, you have the world your team currently knows, right? Highly centralized VCF dashboards, vSphere, NSXT, SDDC Manager. It's comfortable. But on the other hand, the bare metal target state is entirely different. It demands a really deep understanding of bare metal OS administration, completely distinct physical networking and routing, and independent SAN or NAS tuning. The centralized safety net of VCF is completely gone now. A structured skills inventory is truly the foundation of every single training decision you're going to make going forward. And it basically takes 3 steps. First, you assess the current state, like actually survey your staff to understand their real proficiency in the VMware stock. Second, map that right to the target state. Where are the gaps regarding the new bare metal or SAN requirements? And third, categorize it all by role. Obviously, your systems admins need entirely different training than your network engineers or your storage admins. This is exactly where the real custom training prep work begins. All right, Section 3, establishing a RACI plan. This is the engine that builds the bridge. Now, I know RACI plan sounds like just another corporate buzzword, but in this specific context, it is your strict chain of command: responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. It's a total momentum saver because it explicitly defines who assigns the training, who delivers it, and who tracks the completion. Creating a RACI plan and developing custom training around it is exactly what helps tie the various hardware and software training together to prevent those massive training gaps. In a migration this complex, ambiguity around who is responsible for what training is literally what kills project momentum. Notice how a solid RACI plan governs these really specific role-based training needs to tie the whole operation together. Look at the breakdown here. Systems admins are going to focus heavily on the bare metal and hypervisor domain. We're talking skills like OS provisioning and firmware management. Network engineers, they pivot to physical switching and routing, needing deep skills in BGP, OSPF, and VLAN design to actually replace NSXT. And storage admins are focused on SAN and NAS administration, really getting into ICSI protocols and LUN provisioning. Developing your RACI plan specifically for this custom training connects the hardware realities to your software procedures, which completely prevents those dangerous operational gaps where someone just assumes someone else was trained on a vital piece of the stack. Which brings us to a pretty hard truth from our source material. A training plan without strict milestones is honestly just a wish list. You absolutely must institute phase gates. This means no migration phase begins, zero, none, until the prerequisite training is officially signed off by the responsible manager. You've got to tie every training gate directly to your migration project plan. If the training isn't signed off, the migration pauses. It really is that critical.
That takes us to Section 4, bridging the training gaps, or what I like to call training under fire.
I want you to think of the migration phase kind of like high-stakes surgery. Things will go wrong, guaranteed. When a Priority 1 or Priority 2 incident hits, it should instantly trigger a predefined escalation path. No one should be guessing who to call, right? The team steps in, resolves the issue using their newly created runbooks. But step 3 here is the real secret weapon, the mandatory 15-minute debrief. The source text is super clear on this point. Post-incident debriefs are the single most effective training events of your entire project. Make them mandatory without any exceptions. You document the root cause, the resolution, and a prevention measure, and then immediately feed that back into the runbook. It's real-time, custom training that perfectly connects your software processes to your new hardware realities. And during all this chaos, leaders have to manage the human layer. Technical performance during a migration is absolutely inseparable from team resilience. You have to communicate those daily wins so the team actually sees the progress they're making. You must actively monitor for burnout and skill anxiety and intervene early. And maybe most importantly, you have to reframe mistakes. Errors made during a supervised migration are vital learning events, not performance failures. If you don't reinforce this explicitly with your people, your team will just freeze up when the pressure's on. Finally, Section 5, sustaining long-term excellence and setting up your post-migration culture. Tying your hardware and software training together doesn't just magically stop at the final cutover. It has to become a permanent system in your post-migration culture. So the crucial point here is this number, 90. Within the first 90 days post-migration, you must conduct another skills gap review. You run that skills inventory again, comparing the pre- and post-migration results. Doing this reveals what knowledge genuinely transferred into the real world and what remains a high-risk operational gap. You've got to prioritize those risks, things like storage performance tuning or network redundancy configurations. Those are the exact gaps most likely to cause massive incidents later on if you just leave them unchecked. You also have to establish long-term ongoing training needs. Hardware life cycles, like firmware update cadences and capacity expansion, they require recurring, structured training, not just a one-and-done instruction manual. Plus, you have a completely different set of monitoring tools now, right? Transitioning from vRealize operations to something like Nagios or Zabbix requires explicit tooling training. On top of that, institutional knowledge that exists only in an engineer's head is a massive liability. Converting your migration notes into living runbooks with named owners and review cycles, alongside a highly searchable internal wiki, that is mandatory governance for this new stack. Okay, so for the C-suite leaders and IT directors listening to this, here is your immediate 30-day action plan to turn all this theory into executive action right now. Week 1, launch your skills inventory survey across all your roles. Week 2, confirm your target infrastructure stack completely down to the vendor. Week 3, build out that RACI matrix and submit a formal budget that includes backfill coverage while your team is training. Week 4, identify your migration champions and enroll them in the very first training cohort so their success becomes the model for the rest of the team. I want to anchor this entire explainer on this really powerful thought from the source text. Training embedded in team culture outlasts any single project. You have to build systems that make learning permanent. Tie your training completion directly to professional development and performance reviews. It sends a very clear signal from the top down that continuous learning is mandatory, not optional. At the end of the day, training readiness is migration readiness. Every single week you delay preparing your people, you compress that training runway and drastically increase your cutover risk. So I'll leave you with this final thought to evaluate your own organization today. Are you proactively building a bridge of continuous learning, backed by a really strong RACI plan, or are you just buying new servers and hoping your team survives the fall? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this helps you build a much more resilient IT culture.